Okay, welcome to Chapter 5 on CIS215. This week we're going to get into colors and how we can utilize color on our website, how we can get the best color, how we can get complementary colors that work with each other, and basically things like that, and what color scheme should we use in different situations. So, first thing this chapter basically gets into is kind of talking about the colors themselves as far as what we would normally utilize. If we take a look at this particular code right here, right away you'll notice it says color, and again this is basically a cascading style sheet, so this is a CSS, and it says color colon, and it's got a pound sign, and it's got a 6 digits there. Now in this particular case they're all numerics, but you can have letters in there as well because they're basically hexadecimal, and hexadecimal is basically 0 through 9 and then A, B, C, D, E, and F. So we look at that, and so if you go out to the internet and you look at a particular color wheel, let me see if I have one here. I believe I do. And this is really, I mean, it's just millions of colors basically. There's just literally millions of colors that are basically going on here. So here's an example of a website that we can go to basically pick some of the millions of colors that are available to us. So here we've got this nice little palette. Now it's broken up by all the different colors, but if I really want to get into a specific color, I can come down here and literally there are just millions of different colors we can pick through here. I can actually slide this down to a different color, and I can, you know, I mean, it's so finite between these colors on this wheel, and then I can get into these specific colors that I want here. Okay, so those are all the different hexadecimal colors that we can utilize in our websites, and we just basically plug that color in right there. So if I take a look at this first example, so here I'm basically using a style sheet. Yeah, it needs to be two. Yeah, that one. So I'm using a style sheet here. So let me open up that style sheet. And so the style sheet basically looks like this. We're just saying that the body is going to have this font. The font size is going to be that. The header is going to be text to line center. H1 tags are going to be transformed to uppercase, and that's pretty cool. You can actually do an uppercase or proper case. There's a whole bunch of different text transforms you can use. Padding, we want 30 pixels. That means we want some, it's like a margin. And we're going to have a 10 pixel double border, so it's going to be 10 each border is going to be a double one, or 10 pixels, and it's going to be a double border, and the color is going to be 999, and then the font size of that is going to be 3 M's. Our image is going to float left. The padding is going to also have 10 pixels. And then we've got this div, what's called role equals main. It's going to have a margin left of 310. That kind of gives us our responsive look and feel to it. So if we open this guy up, it basically looks like this. So notice that is all uppercase. If we looked at the code, we notice that it says responsive web image. It's not uppercase, but over here it is. And here we basically have an image, and we've got basically all of the sans serif fonts, because we said we want it to be a sans serif Arial font. So notice that it's all sans serif. And that's pretty much basically all that it does. Now, not much of a color there at all, but we see that the H1 has a, well, let's see what the H1 has. It had a, did it have a color? No, it did not. But if we added that color, so let's take a look at the next one. And this guy then now has some color to it. So if we take a look at the code for that, we can see, well, let's take a look at the style sheet. So we see the style sheet. So now we have a body, blah, blah, blah. Background color is this color. And then our color of our text up here is going to be this color. That is basically what the color tag is doing. So visited, now a visited meaning that's an anchor tag. If it's visited, meaning we've been to that website before we come back, that's going to have a certain color. If we just hover over it, it's going to have a different color. All of our links are visited are active are going to basically have a certain color. Again, our header is aligned. We've got our H1 set up. Our image, again, float right. We got the div role main. So now if I hover over these, you notice there's my hover tag. Notice that this one is I've not visited that one, but I have visited that one, so we can actually change the colors to specific colors. You ever been to a web page where they basically made all hyperlinks the same color as the text in there and the rest of the document? You can do that as well. The problem with that is you don't know what's a link and what isn't. So now, so that's pretty simple. That's really all it does. So we've got a simple background. Here's our body. So the body says it's all text is going to have that color unless we override it. Again, there's our visited, our hover. So when we basically hover over a link, it's going to have a certain color as well. Image borders. Now, this one here, we can add an image border. Notice there is no border around this picture. Well, if we come down here, we say a image, meaning it is a linkable image. A is our anchor tag. We can have a border of a solid color in that. So now we come over here, we can see that there's a nice red border around that because it is red and it's solid and it's 2 pixels. Padding is 2 pixels, meaning that the border is not going to be up against the picture. It's padded, meaning the picture is going to have some padding between that and the border. If we take a look at that guy, it basically looks like this. So now we've got that nice border. Okay. Now it looks like it's clickable, and if I click on it, it really doesn't do anything. If we take a look at the source code, we can see that the image is just pointed to itself basically. So it's a blah blah blah, it's got an image and that's it. So it's really doing nothing. So it's got a reference of a, there's an outside, sorry, that a pound sign. So a pound sign means it's pointing to itself. So if you click on it, it's basically going to go nowhere. So just sit there and basically do that. So this is what it looks like, and if I click on it, nothing happens. So again, it's pointing to itself. Okay. So what if we need transparency? Well, we're pretty much used to the 6-digit hexadecimal color palette scheme. We also have this thing called RBG, and RBG stands for red, green, blue, which is the 3 primary colors of the color wheel. So what we could do is we could actually say color RGBA, and then it basically goes, and we've got 4 different items we can utilize. The last one is 0.5. That means it has 50% opacity, which means it's 50% transparent, meaning the colors behind them are going to bleed through 50% of the time. So if we change that color wheel of the, let's see what they do here. If I look at the page source, well, let's take a look at the style sheet. So now we got color. I don't see them doing that here. Okay, but let's play around with it. Let's see what happens if we were to do that. So I'm going to open up this guy and edit it in Notepad, and I'm going to say that I'm going to change the color of this guy to what we have in the book here. So I'm going to grab this guy right here. I plug it into, whoop, wrong one. So I'm going to plug it in right here. And let's see how that basically handles that. So this is the need for responsive web page format. So the need for responsive web page format. So look at it, you notice that it is 50% opacity, which means it's 50% transparent. But if I change that to, let's make it 0.75 opacity, and let's see what happens. Yeah, it's getting there. Let's change it to just 1.0 and see what happens. Notice it got darker. So now we're basically full. So what happens if I made it 0.0? So if I made that just 0.0, oh, come on. It's still there because I can actually highlight the text. Look at that. I can highlight the text, but now it's completely transparent. So basically, so what if I made it 25%? So let me make it 0.25. Apparently my browser is slow today. Come on, browser. Look at that. It's really faint. So again, we have that ability to make that not transparent, a little bit transparent, or slightly transparent, which is kind of neat because we could actually float this text on top of this image, and the text would be transparent. We could see the image bleed through. So that's pretty cool stuff. So if we look at the color properties, well, right here, I want to make sure we understand this. Only two color schemes create transparency in cascading style sheets, and that's RGBA and HSLA. Okay, and we're going to get a lot more detail in each of those here in a little bit. So if we take a look at the color properties, we can see that this first one is a color spectrum. So we start all the way over to here, and we actually come back to itself, and basically got gradient from top to bottom as well. Okay, so the nice thing about this is we can see it from left to right and top to bottom, meaning this up at the top is a light. All the way down to the bottom is, so we got contrast built in as well. If we look at the color wheel, here's what we have. So really what we have is red, green, and then blue. And then inside there we have the secondary colors, which is yellow, cyan, and magenta. So those are in there as well. So we'll get more detail on that. Now here's a nice another color wheel. Now this one here allows us to see each distinct color And again, going from light all the way up to dark for each color, and then we can actually see a nice color separation. So this guy is not millions of colors, it's probably more like hundreds of colors. So it allows us to basically